Thanks, Toby. Thank you so much. And by the way, another applause for Phil. He killed it, right? Thank you so much. See you here. Talking about not delivering any fun and then continuing to be really funny all the time. So that's Brits for you. I promise you it's only downhill, at least in my talk from here, because you know, I'm German. I know what not having fun is all about. Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for having me. I'm Chris, obviously. I'm a designer for more than 25 years now. And I've been studying and lecturing in psychology for over 15 years. And about 16 years ago, I founded this small company down there, which is called Wahnsinn Design. Every German will now think probably that's funny. Every not German will say, what's that? But never mind, they can explain to you. So, and today, it's really easy. I just want to talk today about 3 things I learned during those years. Just 3 things, pretty straightforward. So the first thing is, people are smart, very smart indeed. But the second thing is, users are kind of stupid most of the time. But the third thing is hopeful that we here, we can be heroes, even if it's just for one day, right? So, why don't we start? People are smart, and I'm going to prove it with you by singing with you on a tech conference. Let's try it, right? Okay, full disclosure, this is not my idea. This is the idea of Bobby McFerrin, but ever since I saw it, I always wanted to try, so bear with me. Ba, 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 ba. Brilliant. Ba, ba, ba. Ba, ba. Woo! You did it! No. You did it! What just happened? You didn't know what to sing when I make my third step, right? But you still did. You improvised. Yeah, you made an educated guess, or yeah, thanks, balloon. You were faced with a problem and you solved it instantly, right? In a group of people. You're so smart, and we are smart because we solve problems all the time, tiny, big ones, on stage, off stage, everywhere. We solve problems. So that's the first part. It's really easy. People are smart, you are smart, thank you so much. Bye, no. But what about this, right? Know your audience, you've probably all seen this GIF by now, it's really old, but what do we do about bad software? How do we solve the problem of bad software? What do we do with websites, you know, awesome websites? What do we do with unreliable apps? Everyone who has Sonos heard that probably in the last couple of years. What do we do with this like kind of shitty business software that we're forced to use? Or whatever this is, right? I don't know what this is. I couldn't tell you. So, how do we solve the problem of bad software? Any ideas? You're smart. So, tell me, how do we solve bad software? Brute force. Yeah, like anger. Obviously, with a keyboard, right? What else? Sorry? Keep it simple, stupid. Yeah, by maybe design principles, yeah, okay. But we as designers and developers, we can solve bad software, hopefully. But how do users solve bad software? Yeah. No, sorry. Yeah. Very nice. We need to understand the users. But okay, let's understand the users. How do users solve bad software? Any guess? Trial and error, yeah. But way easier than that. They throw it out, they complain to designers, yeah, very much. Yeah.
Turning it off and on again.
Have you tried turning it off and on again? Yeah, right. No, much easier than that. They avoided, right. Thank you so much, Kerstin. Not planned at all. This is the easiest way to avoid bad software for users, is just to avoid it. Like verbatim, awesome, right? And that's why I always say when you design or when you program something new, like version 2 or even version 1, but let's say version 2, you shouldn't compare yourself with what came before, or you shouldn't compare your work with the other market players. You should always compare your work with what about if they just don't use it? Because not using it is way easier than anything that we can offer. So we are comparing ourselves, we are competing with non-usage. I call this the null hypothesis of design. Yeah? So, and we see that all the time. When in the early aughts and the early 10s, like hospitals were getting digitized, I hate that word, they were given really shit software. Sorry about that. Sorry about cussing all the time, but oh my God, where do I start, right? Where do we start? And it's not about fashion, it's a confusing mess. And in every hospital, it looks more or less something like that. And what did they do? Like, they were faced with limits by the software. They couldn't do what they want to do, so they kept their physical patient files in place. And what have we now? We have both. We have a digital patient file and an analog patient file, and no one knows where anything is, right? Is it there or there? I don't know. Where is the file? I don't know. Have you asked John? He doesn't know, right? So the situation after this first round of design of software, independently of the technology, a lot of that is also web software actually, is the result is it's worse. The situation is worse. It's worse than just with the physical file, yeah? And by avoiding the software. So, okay, people are smart. People are so smart that they know how to avoid bad software, right? Okay, check, first topic done. That was a bit scary, so just have a dog, just to feel a bit, I love her. Look at that smile. I think it's so relaxing. For what's next. So users are stupid. Who has kids? Yeah, quite a lot of fans. Everyone else, fine, but just bear with me. I need a bit of fantasy of you now. Just, yeah, Imagine the following situation. You have a bunch of kids, you have 2 kids, and everyone is really, really hungry. Yeah? And you run all out of Snickers. You know? And so you decide, well, it got to be quick, right? I go to McDonald's, okay. Shame on me, right? But okay, with your 2 kids. You go there, like to the kiosk, to the ordering screen. Imagine that here, right? You don't see me, you see the screen from the back. Never mind. And then you, okay, what do you want, dear? Yeah, hamburger. Okay, great. Okay. Probably there, okay. And what else? Fries? Okay. Well fried, okay, well fried. Yeah, okay, mayo and ketchup, yeah, of course, mayo and ketchup, yeah. And what, no, you can't have a McFlurry, you had 2 Snickers earlier, so. And what about you, dear? You want a Happy Meal? Yes, of course you want a Happy Meal. Okay, where's the Happy Meal, okay. What? Oh, now you want a Happy Meal too. Okay, no, I need to change that. How to change it? Where do I go? Oh my God, Yeah, sorry, sir. Yeah, I'm finishing, come on. Okay. Expecto Patronum, you're right. Okay, what? Sorry? What now? Number 1 or number 2? Oh God, come on, go! How can we expect anyone in this situation to be smart? We can't. Yeah? Because this situation is hard. And there are multiple factors which make it hard for people to be smart users. So most of them are not. They are stuck in this, which I call the circle of stupidity. Pretty easy. And there are several factors. Why don't we go through them one by one? So the first is context. Where am I? Am I in the quiet and nicety of my home with a nice coffee, yeah, quiet. I sit down and I sit in front of the software, or am I at the hospital where a life and death situation could be happening any second? Or maybe I'm in front of, I don't know, 400 people on a stage, right? Not stressful at all, I can promise you. So the context depends a lot, or maybe I'm at a McDonald's with a couple of hungry kids, right? So that's the first part that's making me stupid. The second part is time. Do I have all the time in the world? Can I take my time? Can I slowly learn? Can I trial and error, yeah, the suggestion? Can I move my way into the site, into the software? Or does my calendar look like I lost a game of Tetris? Yeah, and who, probably all of you, the calendars look like that, yeah? Some kind of innovation in our times. So probably more often than not, we don't have time. We are time constrained. Yeah? The next part is attention. What do I focus on? Do I focus solely on the software in front of me, or, where's my phone? Like, solely on the software in front of me, or am I jaywalking on a street, right? And I need to check for this signage. Or maybe I'm in front of a screen with other people, maybe with a patient again at the hospital, or maybe with my children in front of us who are hungry, right? In front of a screen at McDonald's. I have to share my attention. We always switch our attention around. Seldom, like people are really alone in front of software. We use it all the time. While walking, right, on our phones and etc. And related to that are cognitive costs, and I need dig a bit deeper here. So first, you have to understand that there is no such thing as multitasking. We are actually not really capable of multitasking. It maybe feel like it, and some are better than others at switching tasks, but when we multitask, is we do one thing, then we do the other thing, then we do the other thing again, and then we do the other thing again. And if you're really good at it, you can do that a lot of times, but still, each of these switches between your main task and anything else takes time, energy, and it's costly to us. Right? We need to find where we left off. We need to involve ourselves with the new task. It always takes a bit of time. This is called cognitive cost. And the more we do, and we all do all at the same time, you're listening to me, writing, thinking about something else, right? Distractions coming, we are being called, push notifications, shoot me. Everything breaks our concentration and our attention wanders somewhere else. And this is costly. And of course, mental load, I just mentioned that. We all think about 1,000 things during a day, and we juggle those. Yeah, have you turned off the stove at home? I'm sorry. Hopefully I did, right? So, and we think of so many things. Parents here will all know what I'm talking about. Did I bring my child to school? Is she still there? Right? Should I take her? Should I take her to sport or whatever? Our mental load keeps increasing, and obviously that's, again, changing of attention, invoking cognitive costs, stressing us, yeah. And last but not least, our experience with the software at hand. So maybe I'm at the first time at the McDonald's, so I'm in front of that kiosk for the first time. Yeah, I cannot be expected to be a power user by that point in time. So experience but it's actually a bit more complicated than that. So when we start out here, over to the left, right? So we have stupidity on here. So on the top, we are maximum stupid, and on the bottom, minimum. And here we have experience and time over time, right? And so when we start out, we are really stupid. And then we improve, yeah? We can move through the software, we learn shortcuts, yeah? We learn our way around. And sometime in the middle here, we arrive here and we are really, like, we are professional, Instagram or whatever. But over time, this curve increases. What happens? We get set in our ways. We know how the software works. But what about if it changes, right? Then it no longer works. And you all encountered these kind of customers. You cannot change my software, right? It's completely devastating to them, especially to them who have really much experience. They are even, like, this is Stockholm Syndrome. People are proud to be able to control really bad software. All the time, right? All the time. no, I'm smart, yeah, I can control this, and no one understands it. And each company on earth has these kinds of people, but that's not sustainable. You want new people to come in, you want them to understand it, so you cannot base your decisions on those. So this is our circle of stupidity. These are all, not all of the reasons actually, there are many more, but I only have 40 minutes, so I need to keep it short here. But many, many reasons every day in each situation that influence us, that build our context, so that make us actually a little bit stupid. Yeah, check. Users are stupid. But he's not stupid, right? But we have a problem here. Obviously, in my talk, there's a deep problem. People are smart, users are stupid. How can that be? Users are people, I think, right? So there is a problem here. How do we solve that? And actually, psychology has been considering this for quite some time. It was really interesting for us. How can it be that people capable of so smart decisions can be so stupid most of the time? Or how do we even solve the problems if we are all thinking of other things at the same time? So here's a quote for you. People are limited in their capacity to process information, so they take shortcuts whenever they can. Okay, shortcuts. We can use shortcuts. We can trick stupidity, right? So maybe people are smart even when they are not. We have found a way. And the way is pretty easy. There's not only one way to think. There are actually at least two. Yeah? There is not only one way where we think active and logical, and we think it through, and we are conscious, we're thinking about it. Okay, how do I solve this problem? How do I use that software? Daniel Kahneman called that system 2. Why it's system 2, it becomes apparent in a second. And he said, no, we have another system of thinking, which is automatic, and it's more like emotional, when it's coming from here rather than brainy, right? And it's unconscious most of the time. It's automatic. You can guess how it's called? Yeah. Well done, you're smart, again. It's system 1. And the thing with system 1 is, it's really, really fast and efficient. It's way faster. It's not even, no comparison. System 1 of thinking, automatic, is way faster than our active, considerate, logical thinking of system 2. And because it's so fast, we use it all the time. Without it, we could not survive. We use it all the time to confront our life and also to confront software. And again, I'm going to prove it. So with you, obviously, what you see here is 55 circles, yeah, hopefully, with L's and R's. L's correspond to your left hand, and R's correspond to your right hand, right? So and now I want you to let's start it. Raise your left hand, please. Great, now you're right. Now both. Now do this. No. Just a little wake-up call here. No, I want you to raise the corresponding hand to the letter in the 30th circle from the top left corner. Come on. Okay, I see a couple of lefts. There is a right one. Everyone has their hands down. Okay, you're coming now. What is happening? You are so smart. You were the chosen ones. Come on. No, obviously this is so hard because there are no clear instructions here. Starting from the top left could mean going left to right first or top down first, and those are different results in the end. One is left and one is right? So let's try that again. Why don't you raise your hand corresponding to the letter that you think is right? Bam, right? It's so obvious. Of course, it's so obvious. What you did here is you used system 1. You have a system for pattern recognition. You're really good at pattern recognition. We humans are really, really, really good at pattern recognition. You see the pattern, you see what doesn't fit the pattern, and there is your attention, and you raise. There is no active thought involved at all. It's completely automatic, it's completely intuitively, instinctively, and it's so fast, and you could do it stressed out to the max. It doesn't matter, right? The circle of stupidity does not apply here, right? So the problem is, why do most interfaces look like that? All the time, right? And why do they look like that? Because we as designers and developers, both, we are guilty of using system 2 all the time. We are always like, we have time, we are considerate. We are so used in thinking it through, digging deep, right? And I go into a few more details there as well. But we use slow thinking, but our users do not. They are not. It's not possible to use system 2 all the time to use software. So maybe users are not stupid, actually. They're actually smart, but in a different way. Okay, so even when they are not. So yeah, here's another dog. I love that one. Aww. It fits to our brand as well. But now we come into play. You can be heroes, and for much more than one day, actually. And it's really easy. You just need to create a tutorial. Bam, woo, done, thanks. Bye. No, obviously, what is a tutorial but more system 2, right? Just look at this 2-hour video to understand our very easy software. It's no worries. We actually solved that with a potential client. You know? They produced hours of video to explain their software while not optimizing their software to make it easier understandable. So tutorials, maybe sometimes necessary. Not 2 hours, promise me. Never do a 2-hour tutorial. People will have forgotten everything by the end. Yeah, and it takes system 1. It's system 2. I'm sorry. Now I get it confused. It's slow. It takes time. But we can do different. We can be heroes using at least these 4 techniques. And the first one is empathy. This is by the way, our triangle of heroism. It's dangerous to go alone. So let's start with empathy here. Remember that? Yeah, remember the circle of stupidity? As I just mentioned, our users are inside it, but we as designers are not, right? We are experienced, more or less, but we can grow in experience. We can take, at least with the software we are building, we grow in experience quickly. Yeah, we are really deep in it. We can set the context. We can decide where we work at home, most of us nowadays, right? Or in a nice office. We have time, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully you're not stuck in meetings all the time. But we can more or less direct our time. We can direct our attention. We have that time. So we can reduce cognitive costs. All of that leads to us being in system 2 all the time. But our users are not. So this results in something like this. And I've got a cookie consent as well. I found that so funny when Phil showed it. It's it's by accident. But I'm bashing on IKEA here because they did a really good, not job. They did a really bad job with their cookie consent, because what am I asking of my users here? If they want to understand what they're doing, they need to read some text, which is really small, and it's not, but on screens it's really small, and then they have to decide between 3 options which all look the same, right? Accept all only necessary cookie settings. So what in reality happens, no one's reading anything and people just push a random button. Go away, come on. F off, right? So probably they will push accept all in most of the time because it's the quickest by mouth. On a mobile, they will probably tap on cookie settings because it's the lowest one, and that's really, oh my God, now I'm lost. What am I doing, right? There are so many checkboxes. What have I done wrong? Come on, now I go into another builder, right? I leave IKEA. But is that already a dark pattern if I do something like this? Because I know people won't consider it. Yeah, maybe there are some legal requirements, I understand it, but I have to use system 2 here and people just won't use it. And another thing here is we have actually a lot of empathy, designers and developers alike. We have a lot of empathy for the machine. Yeah, especially through talks, for example, and they are important. Talks like Phil's, yeah, we understand more of the underlying technologies. We go deeper. We understand the machines, right? Plural. We understand, well, if I type a search here, yeah, of course it takes forever. You know what this does, like this deep down data lake, I don't know, whatever, how I'm fetching the data here. Of course this takes 5 seconds, but users don't know. They don't care, and they cannot care because they don't know, right? So we need to have empathy for the users, that they are in the circle of stupidity. They would like to use system 1, and we need to accommodate them if we want them to use our software. So first level, that's empathy. Second level is reality. And that's easily summarized by show don't tell, but with your colleagues and your customers, actually. So how do typical software development, web development processes look like nowadays? They look something like that, right? On a whiteboard or on a fig jam, brainstorming, doing business capability mapping and business value canvas or some other businessy business. We are really busy doing this kind of thing, and we do it for a long time. Yeah, it takes weeks and sometimes months before we go there. And why does it take so long? Because we are afraid. Especially as designers, we are afraid of showing something because we could be wrong. Oh my God, we could be wrong, right? But that's not a problem, right? If we show it directly, really quickly after our first talk, people can say, no, this is not what I had in mind. But they can say that. That's actually our superpower. We can create something from nothing, from out of thin air. We can conjure, ideally, the most real prototype that we can achieve. Ideally, even with the technologies that we use. And if we can do that quick, and we can change that quick, we talked about that on the train, right? If we can do that, we can provide basis of discussion, basis of optimization. We can quickly iterate on something specific, on something real, and not here, because what this is really patient of misunderstandings. You can talk months about the project and completely understand each other and have completely different pictures in your minds how it works. Yeah, this is just where something like this happens. You know, we've all done it. Yeah, but when we go quickly here. And it's not just how it looks like. When you put something in the hands of a collaborator, of a potential users, they feel how it's working. They can experience, oh, maybe this is what wow. And they can think about it. And this reality, this is our actual superpowers as designers and developers alike. Yeah, go as close to the actual stack, as close to the technology, but you have to be quick, obviously. And then your collaborators can be quick as well. They can use System 1 again to give you a review, to make your design better. So avoid abstraction, and especially fail without fear. There's no problem in being wrong at that point in time in the process. If you're wrong fast, you can get better fast, and then you're not wrong in the end, right? You're maybe sometime, but you're better in the end. So there's also reality, there's visuality for your users, of course. It's also show, don't tell. We see something like this all the time, yeah? And again, another checkbox. I have a kitten on a slide, right? Obviously, this takes System 2. Yeah, I need to read, I need to understand. I don't understand it, I wrote it, you know? And then I need to recognize that there are buttons. Oh God, I hate these buttons. Material UI, you've done us a bad service, sorry. But those are not buttons, those are words. A lot of users just don't see them as buttons. Why? We know how buttons look like. The Mac did, like 40 years ago, right? A button looks like that. It's so easy, and we see it, and we have a color association. We can read the label, right? But we also have icons, which are really easy to perceive. They are little images, yeah, like nice little images. And we know if I want to continue, I don't need to read anything here. I click on continue before even thinking about where I'm going to click. You all do it. I believe, you all clicked on something before even realizing that you were going to click, and oh, come on, yeah, right here, where do I click? I don't know. Most people cancel to the right, come on. I just saw an interface, SAP again, I'm not kidding you, where continue and cancel next to each other, and they change places from screen to screen. It was like, oh, come on, what you gonna do? Is this a puzzle, right? It's software, it should be easy for me, yeah? Continue, if we read from left to right, go to the right. Continue flows to the, obviously, if I'm right to left, we flow to the left. Yeah, Hebrew, other languages, it's so easy in the web, right? But flow into the direction the user expects. And if you think about it, if I tap intuitively, what happens? And that should be your main action. Obviously, don't do dark patterns. It's not like, yeah, subscribe for, I don't know, 100 euros each day. You can use these for bad, obviously, but you shouldn't. But that's a good question to ask yourself. Especially, like, it never looks like this. You know, like, this is just a modal just to get the point across. But your screens, more often than not, they look like these LR things. Okay, where do I click when I click intuitively? I don't know. I just run, right? So it's a good question to ask yourself. If I'm not thinking, where do I click? And that should be your main action. And it should be clear. And it should not be easily mistaken. And it should not be close to a cancel if you want to save, for example. Yeah? So by that, we allow our users to think fast. And that makes them feel smart. And we like feeling smart. And when we feel smart using a software, we like the software. Go. That's done. Yeah, finished. That's what we all like. Yeah, that's what we all want. So, and lastly here, positivity, which you probably, a lot of you being developers, you heard about optimistic UI. You probably already developed optimistic. Just quick reminder, if I click on something, I don't do this, right? I don't do this full page interstitial, like waiting. And why is it bad to do that? Because that, again, we are easily bored. We like to move fast. This is stopping us. And then we think of something else. Oh, look at the kitty, right? Look at that. Or I need to say, oh, where's my daughter now, right? Did she eat? Did I eat? I don't know. So I'm losing my train of thought at the moment as well. So this is actually breaking my stride. I should not do that. Obviously, if I click on something, I open it directly. Maybe I use some skeleton or something, maybe small inline preloaders. If something takes long, yeah, empathy for the machine again. I know this is hard, this takes long. Okay, I just load this slowly after. But everything else, like, there should be an immediate reaction as if all the data is there, right? So obviously, this is optimistic UI. It's really nice. It keeps the users in the flow, using System 1, easier, proceeding, and expecting the results. But also positivity, because we should design our software as if it works, not as if it would fail all the time. So we don't have to do this. Yay, message sent, woo! Aren't you happy? Okay, yeah, right. What if you send a mail in OS, in Mac OS, right? What happens? Maybe you get a sound if you have sound on, and maybe on the bottom left there is this more. Yep, okay, send, thanks. But nothing else in the interface is responding because we send mail all the time. Imagine if there would be a modal saying message sent. I would kill that software. This is horrible. But a lot of the time we use toasts and modals and yeah, success because we are so proud. But our software should work by default. Of course, give feedback, yeah, but subtle. If something succeeds, give subtle feedback. People can see that, can learn that, and they get it. Like, again, System 1, I saw that little tick there in the corner. It worked. If something fails, other story, okay? So optimistic UI, then I saved, it's gone. Okay, it failed. What now? I open a dialog, say, I'm sorry, it failed. We don't know. Or maybe an error code that you can give to support. Now we need System 2. Yeah, maybe copy my data that I entered before saving, right? So I can recover. Yeah, there we need some more. But this should be the exception. In exceptions, we can use System 2, the slow thinking in failure. But when it succeeds, we don't need that. So those are our strategies to be heroes for our users in our triangle of heroism. We did it! My 3.5, let's say 8 points I learned, I wanted to tell you, so this has been really tiring for him as well. I'm a bit tired as well, but just to sum that up quickly, design your software, build your software to be used and put away as fast as possible. I know, maybe that's a novel idea, but let's design it to be put away as fast as possible. That makes users feel smart and good about themselves, and this way good about the software. Because in the end, using software is not the important part. Really, using anything is not important, but people really are. Thank you so much. Thank you to Smashing. Thank you for having me. Enjoy the day.
Thank you so much, Chris. Will you join me?
Oh, thanks.
Oh, that's good. Well, that's interesting because you know what's really surprises me sometimes is, so when we start designing, right, we often get into the mode of like, okay, we're going to explore the customer journey map and we're going to explore the different maybe emotional state that people are going through. But I think that very often we also have maybe a slightly different perspective then. If it's like a complex domain like healthcare, we go all in, try to understand the complexity, speak to domain experts and all of that. And very rarely, I think, do we actually get to the point where we say, can I just go to the customer, user, who is actually going to end up using software, and just see how they and where they use the software for a day.
Yeah.
And they just take notes about what they're doing, what they're not doing, maybe have a conversation with them over coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I think like from that conversation alone, with maybe one person, 2 people, 3 people, 5 people, you can learn a ridiculous amount of stuff that you can then apply. And it's not necessarily about redesigning everything, but just maybe moving things a little so people just make fewer mistakes. Right?
Yeah, that increases your empathy for them, obviously. So when we first started with hospitals, we went there and we saw what a mess this is, really. It's such a horrible situation. And they take, I think, about 75% of the time in hospitals of the staff is spent doing organizational stuff, right? And using software. And so we said, this is not sustainable. Yeah, we lost half of our people in hospitals during COVID because they were overworked and so through the hardships. And when we went there, we saw that and we said, well, we cannot make them sit down really in quiet in front of a piece of software. We need to really, really boil down what they need in the situation they need. We need to be smarter, actually, because what we usually end up is we're being really smart in the technology, yeah, and that's necessary as well. That's so necessary. But visiting users is a bit scary, obviously. But it's such insightful. And but not only visiting them, I think showing something off to a colleague or to a customer and to yourself, using it yourself and asking yourself, what would I do in these shoes, can help as well. We have the possibility to be empathetic with people.
I think the question also that's kind of connected to that also came up, at which point do you bring users in? Would you say that you can co-design and bring them in right away when you just start ideating and all? If it's even possible, in some situations it isn't.
It depends.
Or you just testing with iteratively?
For me, there is only one way to actually really test well, and that's reality. Like, just ship and optimize. If we could spend a year iterating with a selection of customers, or ship in 3 months and then iterate over the next 9 months and make it better, I would prefer the latter. Because when you study psychology, it's pretty quickly that you learn of the validity of your research. Research, more often than not, is not really valid because people in a research situation are in an artificial situation. They are asked to come and they sit and then they answer your questionnaire. You can get any answer you want on Earth through a questionnaire. You can design it in a way that you get exactly the results you want. So it's really good to convince a struggling customer of your ideas. You just do a questionnaire and it points directly in the situation. Well, wow, who would have known, right? But so you create these artificial situations, but real testing can only happen in real situations. And I know that's expensive, at least it's hard to do, and it's scary sometimes, especially, for example, in a context like hospitals. So you need some kind of pilot groups, maybe, but in real situations where people signed off on it, and then you can see that, and you will learn so much more. You will learn so many things that you would never have seen in this artificial laboratory situation.
Yeah, I think the one thing that also came up, and this is Lucy who wrote that, what options do I have if the customer is not willing to iterate? And I would maybe build up on top of that, because sometimes, I think that many of us might be in a situation where you, for one reason or the other, don't get access to users. Is there anybody in this situation where you don't get access to users?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Quite a few people. And
that's just sad. So it's really impeding your way, your possibility to do work, I think. What to do there? I don't know. You need to learn to be convincing toward the client. Maybe find something you can base your some studies you can base your decision on. But for me, the easiest thing is saying, if you say we cannot iterate, you're saying this is perfect, and nothing is. Right? It's just like expectation of people change, experience of people changes. What if maybe your first user experience is nice, but what about the thousands? That's also important. How does this software feel like clicking cookie banners away? How many times a day for all of us? Every time. Oh my God, come on! Yeah? We need to get that solved. This is not like first time done, right? So And if they don't understand that, then change the client. Honestly, if they don't want to change, they will stop being relevant at some point.
Yeah, I think that one thing that kind of worked for me in the past was to try to be as close to users or customers as I can. So that could be domain experts that might be expensive, of course, to get, but that's still better than nothing.
You need to be.
And even like sometimes if you have, let's say, colleagues who are not directly working on this product, but are familiar with the domain, even giving it to them and then is still better than nothing and kind of getting the sentiment in there.
Yeah.
There's also one question from Sasha that came up. A lot of the time I fail to convince C-level to use any user-driven design approach. What has your experience been and how do you convince your customers? Not the end users, but the customers.
So I wouldn't call what we do or what we try to do user-driven. Actually, it's just I would do it. I would call it reality-driven. So you don't have to convince them to involve the users very much when you first convince them to involve themselves. So show off something. Yeah, suggest specific things. Not a mind map. Not like this abstract thing, but something specific. Yeah, and more often than not, from my experience at least, I get them on board quicker if I show something. I can get them excited, and excited C-level is still better than a bored one, right? So and also I think you can only do good work as developers or designers if you have a functioning relationship with your customer, and it borders or it even crosses to friendship, because they need to trust you. You will tell them unpopular things or maybe things that are hard to think about and decide, and they have to trust you that this is the right decision. I think this is at the start of each project. This is the most important part, actually. This was not what my presentation today was about, but the most important part is get on a friendly basis, on a trusting basis with your customer. It's the only way you can do good work.
Yeah, I think that maybe I know we're running out of time. Just one final question, maybe with a short question answer.
They chiming the
I know
the bells.
So because very often where I get kind of shut down is this notion that as a stakeholder, as a C-level and so on, we kind of know our customers. That's often the conversation that comes up. And one of the ways of how you are being challenged is whenever you propose something new or different, maybe, very often the response that you get is, well, people will not understand it. So, and then testing kind of shut down at this very big meeting.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate that? If that even
yeah, maybe that's the point in time where you can get this small like pilot or this small experiment and use a questionnaire, use whatever you need to convince someone that maybe that's a good idea to try. To be honest, that's what I said earlier. If there's really inhibition to change, that's tough. Because that's tough on a human base. Well, as soon as humans are involved, it gets complicated. So it's not really, the best work cannot convince some people. What are you going to do, right? So then invest less time there, try to make the best possible there, but move to something which is a bit more fulfilling. There is not the panacea there. You cannot just, okay, right, obliviate. Yeah, I was just, so it's not possible.
That's okay. That's good. At least it's honest. So if you have any more questions to Chris, you can also find him in the fireplace. Yeah. No fire, just fireplace. Right there in a break. In the meantime, please give a round of applause to Chris for the talk.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks.
Thank you.